And welcome everybody to another episode of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and as always, it is great to have you guys here. Another show on a Thursday morning. And once again, it's great to have you guys. And again, as always, to get your comments recognized, go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork/tip. We greatly appreciate that. And as always, for bonus coverage materials that are not on this broadcast, go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network. And we greatly appreciate that as always. So we have a lot to talk about on today's show, as we normally do. To start off the show, we'll go through the latest news and headlines around the league. In the second segment, we are going to talk about the National League MVP race and talk about the candidates for that and the kind of seasons that they're having. And I'll give my thoughts on that and who I think is going to win. But I think most people know who that's going to be. But there's still some other players that are having great years that we're going to recognize them as well in that segment. Then in the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the American League playoff picture and talk about the scores from last night and go over that and where everything currently stands at the moment. And then we will get into the National League playoff picture and go through all the scores regarding that and where it is at this particular moment. So that's kind of the structure of the show going forward until the end of the regular season, is because it's always changing, like I've been talking about constantly. So I think that's how we're gonna do it, and it's different because when you watch the other shows, with college football and basketball being every other day, and football is 3 days a week, Monday, Thursday, Sunday. College football is multiple days as well, but the main day is Saturday. Baseball is every day, so there's always something changing within the standings and the playoff picture. So that's kind of how we're going to do it moving forward. And yeah, so that's basically the rundown for the show. So let's kind of get into the latest news and headlines. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is my own team. And I haven't really talked about them that much. I reference them a lot, but I don't really, go on a tangent with them. Well, not a lot, but they do get mentioned here or there. I did talk about the youth movement a couple weeks ago when I first started, but yeah, so last night the Yankees lost again, their third game in a row to the Blue Jays. They lost the last game to the Pirates. They've lost the first two to the Blue Jays, and it was another lifeless performance out of the Yankees in what's been a very disappointing season. They dropped to 500, and Aaron Boone got ejected. That's one of the reasons. The headline is Aaron Boone getting ejected for the 7th time this season, which is tied for the most in the majors over balls and strikes. And, again, did a segment talking about should MLB implement robot umpires, and that's one of the reasons why is the strike zone is so inconsistent with umpires, and there needs to be some kind of change because it's ridiculous. But it's just I think a lot of that had to do with just how the season's been going, and Boone's not happy with it, and he's going to come back as manager. I don't expect there to be a change at the end of the year, but just how disappointing this team has been all season. And listen, when they brought up Dominguez and Austin Wells and Peraza and Pereira, they started playing better, and it looked like, every time they would get close to maybe making a run at possibly getting the third wild card, they would falter, and they would go backwards. And now, especially with Dominguez being out, which he was really a bright spot for this team, it made it worth watching. Now with him out, it's back to just the team doesn't score and they're playing bad baseball again. Other than Michael King last night, who was a relief pitcher. Well, originally he was supposed to be a starter. Then they made him a relief pitcher. Was one of our better relievers. Then they have had to put him in as an opener because they really don't have any starters at the moment. Guys are hurt, but they've kind of built him up as a starter. And he had 13 strikeouts last night. Gave up 1 run, and he did a really good job. So he could be a starter moving forward for the Yankees. But between that and Giancarlo Stanton not being able to run, it's just, I mean, the team is a mess right now, and they need to make some changes. I didn't watch the whole game. I turned it off. I mean, I had it on when it was 1-0, but it's just so boring to watch this team right now, and I don't really know what changes are going to be made to better the team, but it's just another lifeless performance. And you got Garrett Cole pitching tonight, so you're hoping that he pitches well. My dog is right outside, and she just made a noise, so that just scared me. But yeah, so you're kind of hoping Garrett Cole goes out there, pitches well, and he gets a Cy Young. But it's just, I mean, listen, I could talk about it for hours, but it's not good what's going on. But the Blue Jays got another win, so that helps them out with the wild card race. So we'll go into more detail with that. But yeah, so the headline really is just Aaron Boone getting ejected for the 7th time. I mean, he just loves to get ejected. But at this point, it's just getting played out. But you can understand the frustration with when it comes down to the Yankees and how they've played this year. But so other notable headlines. So one of them is regarding Corbin Carroll, if I could find it, because it was talking about how, so he makes more history. So he is the first rookie to have 25 home runs and 50 stolen bases, and that's huge. And he probably is going to win National League Rookie of the Year. And one of the main reasons why the Diamondbacks are going to can make the playoffs this year as one of the wild card teams is because of him. And again, with 50 stolen bases, and again, Acuna stealing all his bases, it just goes to show you. And I talked about this in the new rule segment that I did in one of the previous shows. Is stolen bases are back. Pitchers not having to throw over as much, and that's leading to more stolen bases. And it's again, it's giving baseball more action to their game, which is something that they've missed. But yeah, Corbin Carroll's having a really good year, and yeah, listen, the Diamondbacks, are playing well. After I really didn't, I said the other teams around them are, going to make it over them, that's who I liked at the time. But the Diamondbacks, they've been playing really good baseball. They won again last night, 7-1. So, they're playing great at the right time, and Corbin Carroll is a big factor into that. So, actually, injury news. So I was again watching MLB Network last night, and Jake Berger actually got hurt in the Marlins game. I think it was like hamstring, some hamstring tightness or something like that. Let me double check here, but that's a big loss for the Marlins, because he's been doing very well for them since they acquired him in a trade with the White Sox. And if he's out, that's a big loss. That's a big loss for the Marlins. And they're right now, at the last night they were a half game back. They did lose to the Mets. So right now they're currently, as we look at the wild card, so they're still a half game back. They're at 74 losses at the moment. But last night, so Jake Berger, it was quad tightness. That's what it was. He left with quad tightness. But yeah, it's not what you want, and especially at this point in the year, and how he's produced for the Marlins since he came over. You're hoping that it's not too serious, but it's definitely cause for concern there, because the Marlins, they did pretty well at the trade deadline, yet bringing guys in to better their lineup. So Um, we'll just have to wait and see on that. Luis Ariz is still hurt, I believe. So I don't believe he played last night either. So yeah, Marlins are kind of banged up, and this is not when you want to deal with that because they're trying to make a run here. They're still a half game out. They could still make it, but losing two of your quality, your really good bats, because Arise is going to win the batting title. It's not what you want at this point in the year. So that's just the injury news on that front. Also, one of the headlines on MLB was the Blue Jays found a blueprint, and Gosman pitched really well for them last night. But the thing is, look, they probably did find a blueprint, but it was against the Yankees, who have not been good this year. Now, if they go out and do that in the playoffs, then that's one thing. But doing it against the Yankees, who are not a good team, I don't want to say that's a blueprint. But, listen, if they got good starters, Gosman's good. Bassett's won some games this year. I know Kikuchi left the game the other night with an injury. You have Barrios, who's been better. They got a good bullpen. They got guys in the bullpen. They got good starting pitching. So listen, they got to just put it all together. I know, and also Vlad hasn't played the last couple of games. He's dealing with a knee injury, but listen, and I'm not saying that they didn't find the blueprint, but it was last night. It was against the Yankees, who are right now a lifeless team, but again, that's just me being bitter towards my team. So, you just got to see how it goes in the playoffs, because the playoffs are completely different. But yeah, we'll just props to the Blue Jays. They're getting big wins when they need to, and somebody's gonna get left out. It's gonna come down to them and the AOS teams for those wild card spots. So, but they're doing a good job. They're winning the games they're supposed to win, and this is especially without Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So, and it's not going to get easier because they're going to be playing the Rays, who are going to be trying to catch the Orioles for the division. So, they got some tough games coming up, and we'll see how they respond. Tonight they're going up against Garrett Cole, which is not going to be easy, but then again, you also are going up against a lineup that really isn't that good, where Austin Wells was the cleanup hitter last night for the Yankees. So, yeah, we'll just have to see. But we'll go more into detail with all the scores and that in the third segment. So, but yeah, that's basically it with all the headlines. Not too many things at the moment. The Corbin Carroll stuff is fascinating. Again, like I talked about, stolen bases are back, and he's shown power. He's a good player for the Diamondbacks, and big part of why the Diamondbacks are in the position they're in. So, we'll see. And, and again, just bringing up the Yankees with the Boone stuff. So, yeah, not really, not any, major headlines unless I missed something, but, yeah, so, but it's kind of going to be like that sometimes where it's, there's not really, some days there'll be more things to talk about than others. The playoffs, there's going to be a ton of things to unpack, but, right now it's, you got, basically talking about the rest of the stuff in the next few segments, with the MVP race, the wild cards, the standings, all that. That's all in the other segments. This is just, headlines and news and what's going on, other than the games themselves. So, but yeah, that's basically the first segment. And in the next segment, like I just said, we are going to talk about the National League MVP race. There's other candidates besides the main two that we will talk about as well, and one of them I've brought up too. So we will discuss that in a moment. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, that's what we will talk about. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.